Welcome to Reverse Mortgage Radio, hosted by Legend's very own reverse mortgage professor, Bruce Simmons. You have so many options with a reverse mortgage, everyone has a different opinion, and the government keeps changing the rules. You need to hear from the first certified reverse mortgage professional in Colorado to specialize exclusively in reverse mortgages, one of few in the state with the letters CRMP after his name. Bruce has the specific training and education you need to understand what you're buying. Now, here's your host, Bruce Simmons.
Merry Christmas and welcome to Reverse Mortgage Radio. Christmas is just around the corner. Just in a couple of days, we're going to be celebrating Christmas, or maybe you're celebrating Hanukkah or whatever it is that you celebrate. Hopefully you're celebrating something at this time of year. I think it's really important that we get together with family and friends, because my wife was watching some goofy Christmas special recently, and I caught a little bit of it when they said Christmas tends to bring out more of what you are. If you're happy and joyous and reaching out to a lot of people all the time, Christmas makes you more happy and more joyous, and you want to reach out to more people and share all the goodness that's in your heart. On the other hand, if you're lonely or sad, feeling depressed, basically Christmas time can help, unfortunately, bring more of that out. You get lonelier and sadder, and it's a sad situation. And hopefully you're not in that case. If you are, please pay attention, because I know it's a weird topic to talk about at Christmas, but we're going to be talking about loneliness today. And we're going to, believe it or not, we're going to spin it around to reverse mortgages. And I just think that some of the things that I see my customers go through, I feel so sad for them, some of the challenges they have. But then I see others that get out in the community and do all kinds of great things with their lives. And no matter how old they are or how young they are, how young they think they are or act, whatever the case may be. So we're going to talk about that today. If you have any questions about reverse mortgages, and in fact, I'm going to give a pitch for some of my volunteer stuff that I do as well. But if you have any questions, please feel free to call me. My number is 303-467-7821. 303-467-7821. My name is Bruce Simmons, and I'm the reverse mortgage manager with American Liberty Mortgage here in Denver. You can also visit me online at reversemortgageradio.net. Reversemortgageradio.net is the website. And on that website, you can download my free consumer guide. You can also get a free quote on my website in the upper right-hand corner. Click on the free quote and you fill out some basic information. I do not pull a credit bureau on you until you decide you want to use me as your reverse mortgage specialist and we start the application process. At that time, I do have to do a credit check. That's part of the deal, but not until then. And if you're shopping around for reverse mortgages and somebody says, well, in order to give you a quote, I need to check your credit, that's a no-go right there. That should be end of conversation, okay? Because they don't need to do that. You need to understand that. And also, too, just know that when somebody does check your credit, there's these things called trigger leads, meaning that the credit bureaus will sell your information. If you meet certain guidelines, you have a certain credit score or certain income level, whatever, that'll go to other mortgage people, and you'll start getting calls about wanting you to do a reverse mortgage or wanting regular mortgages. They don't know you're applying for a reverse. It's all goofy stuff. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Now, luckily, I've got a system where that doesn't happen when I pull your credit. I go to a site, put in your information, and remove you from that kind of solicitation before we pull your credit bureau. So you should not be getting a bunch of calls if you do business with me. Anyways, let's get on to the topic at hand. Loneliness. I know it's Christmas time. What am I talking about being lonely for? Because a lot of people are lonely, unfortunately. And I want to try to give you some inspiration, help you out, maybe. We'll see. But let's first talk a little bit. I want to touch on a study that the Institute for Health Policy and Innovation through the University of Michigan, they conducted a poll called the National Poll on Healthy Aging. And they did trends in loneliness among older adults from 2018 to 2023. Now, they also compared 2020, which we know was a very lonely year, and loneliness spiked up at that point at the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm just going to compare the current 2023 poll to the 2018 one. We're skipping over 2020. But what they say here is, in January of 2023, the University of Michigan National Poll on Healthy Aging asked a national sample of U.S. adults ages 50 to 80 questions about loneliness, measured by their feelings of isolation and lack of companionship and their social interactions. And what they did, they asked the same questions to similarly aged national sample U.S. adults for 2018 and then again in 2020, which we're going to ignore, and then again in 2023. So basically, in 2023, 1 in 3 adults ages 50 to 80 reported feeling isolated from others. Now, the majority of those people were only some of the time. 29% said that they felt isolated 29% of the time. 5% said they felt isolated often in the past year. And compared to 2018, 27% of people said that they reported feeling isolated. So 34% in 2023 compared to 27% in 2018. Also, 37% reported feeling a lack of companionship in 2023 compared to 34% in 2020. I don't know if that's, obviously a lack of companionship could be more people's spouses passed away, unfortunately. And then they had 33% reported infrequent contact, meaning less than once a week or less, I should say, with people from outside their home in 2023, compared to 28% in 2018. So a third of the people said that they had contact with people outside their home once a week or less. Unfortunately, that's kind of a, when you're lonely, that's part of the reason. You don't get out and do enough. But what they said, chronic loneliness, which is persistent feelings of isolation and or lack of companionship, can adversely affect mental, cognitive, and physical health, general well-being, and even longevity. Particularly notable are the high rates of measures of loneliness in 2023 among older adults with fair or poor physical health and mental health. Feelings of social isolation and lack of companionship were reported by more than 7 in 10 people with fair or poor mental health, and more than half of those with fair or poor physical health. In fact, measures of loneliness among those with fair or poor mental health were slightly higher in 2023 compared to even the pandemic in 2020. Unfortunately, that's when you're feeling bad physically, it affects every area of your life. And they talk here, addressing loneliness requires a multifaceted approach, much like asking about diet and exercise. Clinicians should do all they can to screen adults at risk. Basically, the bottom line of this study is loneliness affects the health and well-being of older adults. It's critical for policymakers, clinicians, and family members. If you're listening and you're in your 30s or 40s and you know people that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, reach out to them. People need contact with other people. But they say everybody needs to address what the Surgeon General has called an epidemic of loneliness in America. What the heck does that have to do with reverse mortgages? And stay with me here, okay? Because we're going to get to how a reverse mortgage can actually help in certain situations. But they talk here too, or one thing that I want to talk about, I should say, is obviously the importance of social activities. Now, obviously, health issues, we talked about limiting mobility. If you've got health issues, we're going to address that too, because staying socially active is so important. One of the things that I really love to do is I'm in a Kiwanis club in Wheat Ridge. If you live anywhere near Wheat Ridge, 38th and Wadsworth, we meet. the Wheat Ridge of Kiwanis Club. We meet every Thursday at 7:30 in the morning for breakfast. We don't always meet there, so you got to call me and let me know, because we do other things outside too. But we honor students sometimes. Sometimes we go visit Wheat Ridge High School, their STEM program, which we've got planned for January. But if you want to be part of an active club that helps the community, volunteer. Find Rotary, Kiwanis, Optimist Club is great too. All of those clubs are great. I'm partial to my Kiwanis Club, but we've got people there well into their late 70s and 80s that are active. Shoot, I think a lady that's really active in the schools that helps out, she's 89 years old, and she is so active and on the ball. And now, granted, she's healthy too. But we've got people who are really struggling sometimes, but they make it to those meetings. They make it to the volunteer things, even if they have to just sit down and do something sitting down, taking money if we're running a booth, selling something. It's important to be out and be communicating with people. That's just very, very important. So stay socially active. There's different kinds of activities that you can do. Number one, join a senior center. There are so much activities in senior centers. The crafts, book clubs. If you've got poor health, a book club is a great way to stay in contact with people. You read a book through the week. You meet once a week, or you read 2-3 chapters or whatever of the book, and then you meet and you talk about it. And you can create friends that way. Then you can say, oh, you want to go grab a cup of coffee and talk about politics or whatever. You could do these things, and it's fun and get you out. You get to meet people. Some people you'd never want to do anything with outside this club, but other people you're going to meet that you like. And if you don't meet anybody that you like, then you join another club. It's that simple. But there's things that you can do if you're not overly healthy. You can do crafts, do art. You can take language classes. All kinds of things that you can do. Keep your mind active. Don't just sit in front of a TV or a computer. I know my dad had Parkinson's disease, and he just slowly progressed, and eventually dementia caught up with him. And I know he drove my mom crazy. He sat around watching the news all day long. And he'd switch over to Gunsmoke now and again too. But other than that, now it was very difficult for him to do much at that stage. But before that, and he could have done more. It was hard, because I remember when we moved him from California to Arizona, my parents, because we had family, my sisters in Arizona, and the reality of his situation didn't fully impact him. He had 3 sets of golf clubs. He used to love to golf. And he was falling a lot, but he was out in the garage. I remember this specifically, saying, "Oh, well, Dad, we're going to get rid of your golf clubs." No. I think I may take up golf when I get back to Arizona. He couldn't hardly walk, and he was going to take up golf. So it's just a matter of accepting your situation too. That's a challenge. I know I'm going to be a big pain in the rear to my wife. Hopefully we go together. That's what everybody wants when you've been married with the same person for decades, right? But that doesn't happen very often. Anyways, I'm way off track here, but the key thing is stay active. And you get exercise classes. My mom, she's now 82, and she goes to exercise classes like 4 days a week. I did a loan for a lady that was 93. I'll never forget this. And she told me she went to exercise class 5 days a week. She went to one class 3 days a week and another class 2 days a week. And this lady was on the ball, sharp as a tack. She knew what the heck she wanted. She was doing it, and she was living life to the fullest extent that she was able to. She knew her limitations too. Aquasize. If you can't exercise the way you want to, aquasize is good. Doing exercises in water, things like that. But you can also do things. Try to create a YouTube site. I talked to one guy. Actually, I think he was a listener of the show. He didn't end up doing a reverse mortgage, but he was a very interesting person. He would take road trips on his motorcycle, and he would have a GoPro camera on his helmet, and he would take videos as he drove. And he would post these videos online and things too, and just interesting stuff that people do. He played the harmonica as well, which is one of my goals. When I retire, I've got all this list of stuff that I want to do. I'm sure I'll never do any of it. Well, I shouldn't say none of it, but I'll do some of it, hopefully. I did a loan for a guy that his whole goal when he turned 80, he wanted to skydive. And I said, okay, I'll go with you. Me and my son went with him. And I've skydived a number of times. It's such a blast. But you could do all kinds of things. One of the things I really want to do when I retire is learn more about crypto. I think it's so interesting. But that's an isolated thing. I mean, you could join online communities and things, but it doesn't get you out physically with people. If you're healthy, generally speaking, healthy, join bowl. You could bowl. You can play tennis, ice skate, all different kinds of things. Whatever is you're up for. I know a guy in my Kiwanis club. It's kind of funny because he loves to play tennis. And this was a few years ago. He's now 90. But a few years ago, he was talking about playing tennis with this old guy and how he was impressed at this old guy. I said, well, how old was this old guy, John? He said, oh, he's probably about 88 or 89. I said, well, how old are you, John? He's like, 86. And he's playing tennis talking about this old guy he was playing with. This perspective. He did not have this view of himself as old. I still think he doesn't. He's 90 years old and he comes to every meeting. The guy's he loves his family. He's got a big family with all kinds of great grandkids that live nearby and just excited for Christmas because a lot of the family is the ones that are out or coming to town and stuff. And so it's important to stay connected with people. That's the key thing that I want to get across. By the way, if you just tuned in, you are listening to Reverse Mortgage Radio. We're going to talk about reverse mortgages here in just a minute, but we're talking about loneliness and different ways to combat it too. But I think joining a club, even if you're not real healthy, sometimes if you can, things like Toastmasters. A lot of people think, well, what is that, a wine club? Are you learning how to toast people, or is it a cooking class, or what is it? It's a speaking class, a public speaking club, and it improves your public speaking skills. I don't care if you know that you're never going to do any public speaking. It's still a great way. It's a learning process, and you're engaging your mind to learn. It's fantastic. There was a guy in our club, Norm. He was well into his 80s when he retired, and the only reason he retired is because he had to take care of his wife, who ended up with dementia during COVID. And he tried to come back after COVID to the club, and his wife had passed, but they had done this together, and it was just too hard for him to come back without her. And unfortunately, but he stays active. The guy's sharp as a tack still. But all kinds of things you can do. Travel, obviously. While you're young, try to travel because it becomes more and more difficult the older you get, obviously. But if you're in your 60s, 70s, and you have time and money to travel, that's a great, great activity. I know people who travel can continue to do so. It keeps you young as well, seeing new things and learning about different cultures. But a lot of these things that we talk about require money, right? And if you're taking medications, if you've got expenses for that, if you still have a mortgage, it's amazing the number of people that I talk to in their 70s that still have a mortgage, and they just refinanced in 2021 on a 30-year mortgage, and they're 76 years old. They've still got 25 years left on their mortgage. So basically, they'll be paying a mortgage for the rest of their life. But if you get a reverse mortgage, you can eliminate the principal and interest portion of that payment because a reverse mortgage allows you to eliminate that part of the loan. Now, the house stays in your name. It's still your house, so you have to pay your property taxes and insurance. It's only available for your primary residence, and we have to be able to loan you enough to pay off your existing loan. A lot of people think, well, I have $1 million home. I only owe $400,000 on it, so I've got $600,000 in equity. Well, if you're only 65 years old, we might only be able to loan you $350,000 on that because we can. And right now, given the rates, FHA dictates to us, the lender, how much we're allowed to loan you, and is based on the age of the youngest homeowner, the value of your home, and the interest rate. So we don't base it on the amount of equity you have. We base it on the value, and then we have to loan you enough to pay off any existing mortgage. If we can loan you 35% of $1 million home, well, that's only $350,000. You owe $400 on that home. Well, then I can't loan you enough to pay off your existing mortgage, so we can't do a reverse mortgage for you unless you've got an extra $50,000 you want to apply towards the loan balance. So in other words, we loan you $350,000, you pay $50,000 to it, and you eliminate that mortgage gets paid off, and you replace it with a reverse mortgage that requires no principal or interest payment. Now, if you've got a $400,000 mortgage, odds are the principal and interest payment could be $2,500, $3,000, $3,500, depending on the interest rate and the term. So that's why you'd say, okay, well, if I bring $50,000 to closing now and pay off my existing mortgage, that's going to save me, say, $3,000 a month. That's $36,000 a year that I'll be saving, not having to put out. So in just a year and a half or less than 2 years, I'll have my $50,000 back. So it makes sense. And it depends on how long you're going to live in your home. There's all kinds of details about it. Feel free to call me with any questions. My number is 303-467-7821. That's my direct line. My name is Bruce Simmons. I'm the reverse mortgage manager with American Liberty Mortgage in Denver. 303-467-7821. Give me a call. I can run numbers, let you know how much we can loan you, let you know if you qualify. And if you do, then we schedule a time to get together to where you can look at the numbers. You're not signing anything at that initial meeting. All you're doing is gathering information. Then you still have to talk to a reverse mortgage housing counselor before you're allowed to sign any papers. I'm not going to let you sign anything until you talk to the counselor or you're 100% sure you want to do this. Okay? And I don't even bring any paperwork for you to sign until we look at it and I'm 100% sure you understand what you're doing. But either way, you can also visit me online at reversemortgageradio.net. Reversemortgageradio.net is my website. And you can go on there and download my free consumer guide, 100% free. Download it. It's got a ton of great information in it. You can get a free quote on my website. And it's not where you input information and then I call you back. I will give you the numbers without you ever talking to me. All right. Just be aware that once you get the numbers, I may reach out to you to say, hey, do you have any questions about them? I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I never want to talk anybody into this. I'd rather have you just gather the information and then tell me no. I'd rather have you say no today than call me back 2 or 3 or 4 years later, pissed off at me because I didn't clarify something with you. I don't want that to happen. So anyways, the way the reverse mortgage can help you in retirement and combating loneliness is obviously helping you with cash flow so you could do the things that you really want to do in your retirement. You can stay active. Sometimes even you could get a knee replacement. Maybe it wasn't going to be covered as you might have had a big down payment or a big deductible, things like that. Maybe you're in a donut hole for your medication, or you just are hopefully getting out of the donut hole now at the end of the year, and you need money to help with that. And that helps you feel better. Maybe you want to get some elective surgery that Medicare is not going to cover, whatever it may be. We can possibly help out with that. It can relieve that financial stress. And when you reduce stress in retirement especially, that's going to help you feel better by itself. Obviously, if you're not worrying about stretching that Social Security out that really only lasts till the 20th, till the 30th, and you can replace it with an extra $500 or $700 a month, either from paying off your existing mortgage or by us paying you a stipend every month. It's awesome. Or you have this money set aside in a line of credit that you could draw from to help out family members, maybe help a son or grandchild get through college or buy a house near you. That's always a possibility. Things like that, or even just help you plan for long-term care, help you stay in your home longer because that's your main goal. Now, if you're lonely sometimes, maybe it's best not to stay in your home. Maybe you want to sell your home and move to assisted living where there's more activities, more people available right there with you. But a lot of people don't want to do that. If that's your choice to do that, then I strongly support it. But if you want to look at reverse mortgages to make an informed decision, then I'm good with that. I want you to have the information so you can make an informed decision one way or the other. Maybe a reverse mortgage will help you pay for airfare so your family can come visit you on Christmas, or you go visit them. Either way, if you're like my mom and she hates flying anyway. She's always hated flying, but now with the TSA and the hassles and all that, she really doesn't like it. So it's totally up to you too. You got to keep that in mind. The other thing too to be aware of is the impact on inheritance. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I know the loan balance is getting bigger and bigger every month that I'm not making a payment," because you're still charged interest with a reverse mortgage. The interest just gets added to the loan balance. Your loan balance gets larger every month. And I always tell people, if looking at that statement and seeing your loan balance get bigger and bigger and bigger is going to cause you more stress than the benefit that you receive from the reverse mortgage, you should not do it. But you say, well, that's hurting my inheritance. Well, no, not necessarily. Because if you're putting out money every month to pay a mortgage and you're drawing money from other assets to do that, you're dwindling those other assets. Whereas if you get a reverse mortgage, now you don't have to draw that money out. In fact, you can even save more money possibly. But obviously the goal is to live a better lifestyle. And if it does dwindle your retirement, but you're able to help out family or live with family more fully, in other words, be there with them when they take a trip to Florida in the winter and you can go with them, or spend Christmas with family. You can buy Christmas presents for your grandchildren, things of that nature that lighten up your life more so that your family remembers you better, not better, but remembers you. They have these memories of you more so than you just leaving them an extra $20 or $30 or $40,000 in equity in the house. Things like that are going to make a bigger impact on the lives while you're living than worrying about what you're leaving them when you pass. Some people say, well, it's a matter of giving with a warm hand instead of a cold hand. And that to me is one of the most important things. Living life to the fullest with family and friends. And again, that gets back to that social thing. Whether you're joining a book club or joining Toastmasters Club to improve your public speaking, or you're volunteering with Kiwanis or with another service organization like Rotary or Optimist. Those things make a difference in people's lives. And the thing is, it's funny because years ago, my son and I, when he was still in high school, 10, 12, 15 years ago, we had a discussion about can you really ever give 100% altruistically without ever getting anything back. Maybe you don't expect anything back, but you're going to get something back, because when you give, you get that feeling, that warm feeling. And that's what Christmas season is about, love, right? And I would love for you to call me. I love the fact that you listened to my show today, and I would love to talk with you at some point. So please feel free to call me at 303-467-7821 or visit me online at reversemortgageradio.net. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really sincerely hope you have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll talk before the end of the year. Thank you so much.
Call Bruce Simmons today. Ask about his free Colorado Consumer Guide, 303-467-7821 or reversemortgageradio.net. Bruce will come to you anywhere across the Front Range to make sure you understand how reverse mortgages work. Regulated by DORA, NMLS number 409914. American Liberty Mortgage is an equal housing lender.